Bastards. Welcome to the Sports Lounge, a very lively edition here. Blue shirts all around. I'm Travis Kriens, Charlie Hildebrand in the Carolina Blue. Marcus Straxer, he'll be here sometime getting his carrots out. We'll see if anybody else joins. The 74th edition. How many of these do you think we're going to do? Any idea?
419.
419?
What?
How many of these are we going to do? We're up to 74.
I have no idea.
No idea. Well, quite frankly, I'm quite pissed off right now at this All-Star Game. I want to start with the All-Star Game rosters announced an hour or so ago.
I'm glad you're upset. These shows are better when someone's upset.
God damn it.
That's what makes this thing go. That's why we've done 74 of them.
That's right.
I just want to point out before we got too far along that I was at Target Field earlier this week. I got this nice sign that I plan on keeping, nice keepsake.
Would that cost you money?
Yeah, it cost me money, but.
What is that, tin?
No, it's wood. It's wood.
Wood. That's very good. Put that by the Leinenkugels.
I think I don't know how much longer, but somewhere back here.
There you go. I like that.
Up there somewhere. So.
That'll be good. That's solid. That's a good. It's a good investment.
Thank you. Also, since we're talking All-Star Game program as well. $15 for this goddamn thing.
Hold off the presses.
Yeah. All-Star Game program that, of course, doesn't have any of the players that are actually on the team in here yet because it was printed before then. So.
Quick side note, I think you should take that All-Star Game thing, the first one you showed, make a mask out of it, and then you can be the Minnesota Twins vigilante superhero. Yep. And then whenever you don't get paid enough money, you can just go somewhere else and be better in the next city you go to.
I like that. I think no matter what, the All-Star Game, after it goes to Minnesota, it's going to be in Cincinnati next year. It'll be better because you only get better after you leave Minnesota.
There you go.
And I'm sure we'll talk about the Twins, but I love the two selections that made it. We had just like we thought a couple years ago when they had got the game. The catcher hitting better than 300, and the hometown reliever closer. They're the two selections. So just like everybody had planned.
Since we're on the Twins, I made a little list here around noon today, 1 o'clock, going through saying who I thought should fill out the rosters, and I'm quite disappointed at this abortion of a list that they came out with. Kurt Suzuki, rightfully so, hitting 300, by far their best hitter. Honestly, him and Derek Norris of Oakland, the two best catchers without a doubt in the American League, a no-brainer. Glenn Perkins, he should not have made this team. His ERA is above 3. He wasn't even in consideration when I was going through the list. I thought Dozier had a better chance of making it than that Glenn Perkins. Why does Glenn Perkins make this team? ERA over 3. Not good.
Does Gardenhire have any say in this? I know he's an assistant.
He's an assistant. I mean, I don't know why you would pick Glenn Perkins. I mean, Chris Sale, the American League's going for a pitcher for their final vote. National League's going for a position player. Chris Sale should be on this team over Glenn Perkins, no doubt in my mind. Garrett Richards of Anaheim, I had him on there, no doubt. I had Dallas Keuchel of Houston in my fan vote. But Chris Sale, he missed some time on the DL. But if he's not one of the top 5 pitchers in the American League, then I'm black, and I'm not. So
is that right?
Yeah, that is right. And Chris Sale, deserves to be on this team.
I would generally agree with you that Glenn Perkins probably not deserving, but given that this is being played in Minneapolis, there's no way that didn't have anything to do with it.
Garbage.
I would also generally agree also that you are not a black gentleman.
That's interesting.
I think in terms of Perkins, the only thing I can think of would be is if they want to bring in the hometown reliever and get the loud cheer in the 7th inning, whether they're up 4 or down 4 runs. I mean, that's like the only thing I can bring to that.
I hope he blows it personally. That's just me.
I would hope that if the American League's up by a run in the 9th inning, they're not bringing Glenn Perkins into the game.
I'm looking at this list. I don't see Koji Uehara on one list. I don't see him on another. I do. So I'm confused here because Koji Uehara, he of the ERA of 1.3 and a WHIP of a quarter of a WHIP, .74, 3/4 of a WHIP. I assume he made it there. But anything jump out at you? Fernando Rodney didn't make it. He's having a pretty good year with Seattle. Anything jump out? Betances, the strikeout machine from New York, definitely deserved to make it, and he did a ton of strikeouts. Strikes out about half the guys. Sean Doolittle, closer for Oakland. I had him in my fan votes. American League, anything stick out besides Glenn Perkins being on this team for no reason whatsoever?
You know, I know the vote totals. You know, we've known how many votes the starters were getting and stuff. I am surprised that Jose Bautista is the top vote getter in the American League. I wouldn't, because to me that usually means he's the most popular player in the American League, and I don't think that's the case. I would say Mike Trout is, you know, Derek Jeter. I expected one of those two guys to be the top vote getter, and I already forgot who the top vote getter on the NL side was, but I was surprised.
Possibly, just a guess.
What's that?
I would guess McCutcheon. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was surprised about Bautista though.
Charlie, anything get your gander? Joey Bats, are you impressed with the home runs, or are you surprised that maybe Trout isn't the number one guy, since he seems to be the next Derek Jeter face of the league?
Don't follow baseball the extent that you guys do, but I would say that it is surprising that in the AL it's not Mike Trout as the top vote getter, being that it seems like if you turn to any channel discussing baseball as a whole, that they basically talk about Mike Trout for 2 or 3 minutes every single night, at least it seems like.
They only have one.
And whenever you can find a guy that's good at everything too, you know, he's not just a good batter. He's also good fielding. He's incredibly fast. He's a 5-tool player. And it seems like generally people really like guys that can do everything.
Edwin Encarnacion on the team, but probably not going to play with a quad injury. So, and he's a first baseman, and they have 4 first basemen on this team, which I think is about too many. You don't need 4 goddamn first basemen. So Encarnacion makes the team. He won't play. I would like to see another second baseman there. I'd like to see Ian Kinsler from Detroit make it. Brandon Moss, first baseman for Oakland. He was on the fringe on my list, but he ends up making it here. Melky Cabrera, drug user Melky Cabrera, having a nice year. I thought he probably I thought he should have possibly made it, having a good year. But Alex Gordon for Kansas City, not keen on Alex Gordon getting it. I don't think I even had a Kansas City guy on my team.
Well, that's where you went wrong, obviously.
But if I would have, it probably would have been Salvador Perez, their catcher, who also made the team. So I'm surprised with Gardenhire's influence, 7 catchers didn't make it. How shocked are you? How shocked are you? They only have 2 backup catchers here. I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to do if this game goes 7?
I'm surprised that there's not twice as many pitchers, and they just have like 12 guys total that can hit. They just have 3 guys on the bench, and the rest are pitchers.
They should. They should. I don't know why they don't.
Every pitcher gets 10 pitches, then they're getting yanked.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of an at bat. You know, big 2-2 pitch coming. You're coming out of the game.
Little league rules. Little league rules.
Full count. We're bringing in a guy to throw the 3-2 pitch.
Jose Abreu, monster season. Between him and Tanaka for Rookie of the Year, I think Tanaka's probably going to get it here as long as his ERA is hovering around 2, and New York should be in the playoff race, unlike the White Sox. But Mr. Hildebrand put it to the group here earlier in the week, over-under on the home runs. He's got 27 right now. I put it at about, 45 or so. Tremendous power hitter, 27 years old. Very impressive. Where would you...
Guys look good. I actually watched the White Sox play Saturday, and he had his hit streak snapped. No home runs, so I might not watch any White Sox games again for a long time. But But he certainly played really well up to this point. My initial guess was he would slow down and finish in the mid to high 30s. I think I'm going to switch that to the low to mid 40s. But I don't know. Either way, like you said, he's had a fantastic year up to this point for a rookie, replacing super old but beloved in Chicago, Paul Konerko.
What? He's got 27, right?
Yep, and he missed a couple weeks on the DL, so if he doesn't miss those weeks, he probably has 30 right now.
And he's tied for the league lead. Who's he tied with?
Nelson Cruz is up there. Edwin Encarnacion up there. He's going to miss a couple weeks. So I think it's between Nelson Cruz and Abreu here.
And the over/under was at what?
Do a new over/under, about 42, something like that.
I usually err on the side of these guys sliding off, especially, Abreu being a rookie. Pitchers are going to catch on a little bit. I think he's a special player. I think he'll have more than 45 home runs. He will have between 45 and 50 home runs this season.
I think the rookie record is Mark McGwire back in the late 80s with 49 for Oakland. So I think that's got a real chance of going down. So we'll see.
If you had to pin me to a number, I'd say 48. So.
48. Very good. Looking at the National League side, I have a lot more problems with the National League side. Looking at the final fan vote, I had Casey McGee in my fan vote. He's in the fan vote as well. The four other gentlemen in the fan vote, Justin Upton, Justin Morneau, Anthony Rizzo, and Anthony Rendon of the Nationals. I had all four of those gentlemen making the team outright. So I think that is a fairly stacked group of gentlemen there in the fan votes. Justin Morneau, how in the hell does he not make the team?
I missed his numbers, but he's hitting better than 300. Oh, he's hitting 314 with 59 RBIs. That's second most in the league.
Second most in the league, and he doesn't even get a sniff at the team. Come on.
Okay, so now I pull up the other first baseman. Let's see, Goldschmidt. He's a starter. Is that right?
Nobody's got more than Morneau as far as RBIs go.
Freddie Freeman, Aramis Ramirez. Is Daniel Murphy? Is that the other one here?
Yeah, Murphy was a second baseman for the Mets. He was their representative. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would think that you could make some room for a guy like Morneau, especially considering what a great year he's had. I'm gonna guess that he's gonna win this fan vote, but it shouldn't really come to that.
Josh Harrison for Pittsburgh should not have made this team. They have four backup outfielders. He should not have made this team. Charlie Blackmon for the Rockies. He had a hell of a start to the season. He's cooled off considerably since then. He should not have made this team. 291 hitter, 12 home runs, 47 driven in. He should not have made the team, so that's a joke right there. Catcher was loaded. Jonathan Lucroy, very underrated. He probably, if we're talking who's the best catcher, at least offensively, he's the best. Pat Neshek, he makes it. Deserving, the numbers are deserving, but going for that middle reliever. His numbers are tremendous. ERA well under 1, under 0.8.
I am glad he made it.
But should he have made it? Him and Tony Watson, two relievers from each side, two setup guys, they make it with microscopic ERAs under 1. Is that the right thing?
I would say if your ERA is in the right spot, and if you're under 1, I would say that certainly helps you. Would you favor some closers? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I got a couple of guys here that Tim Hudson, great year for the Giants, and Alfredo Simon for Cincinnati, getting a chance to start for a full season for the first time for the Reds. He's been very good. Aroldis Chapman he made the team, missed quite a bit of the season, but he's kind of like Betances. He's your big strikeout guy there late in the game. Kimbrel, he made it again. Francisco Rodriguez having a good comeback year with Milwaukee, leading everybody in saves. Houston Street, I don't see Houston Street on this team for San Diego, and he's having a pretty good year. So interesting how they come up with some of these guys, and like Pat Neshek, I never even thought he would even factor in here. But
okay. For the record here, player selections. If we're just talking about the pitchers, Bumgarner, Chapman, Cueto, Kershaw, Kimbrel, Francisco Rodriguez, Samardzija, although he was picked now in the AL, Wainwright, and Jordan Zimmerman. And then the managers, they selected Greinke, Neshek, Tyson Ross, Julio Teheran, and Tony Watson. Does that make you feel any better?
Yeah, the managers are dumb. The managers are stupid. I'm assuming it came before the Padres. It was between Tyson Ross and Houston Street for that last spot to represent them. Looks like Samardzija made the team, but Julio Teheran from the Braves, I think he should have made it outright anyway. But Tony Watson, I mean, nice that Tony Watson and Neshek to get some looks there. I thought Rafael Soriano for Washington should have made it their closer. But I have a bigger problem there with the National League. Ryan Braun, he didn't make it, and Justin Upton, he's in the fan vote. Quite a few guys. Evan Gattis didn't make it for the Braves. He's the best power hitting catcher they got going right now. Interesting how they figure out this roster. Essentially 4 second basemen. That's quite a bit for the National League. 4 backup outfielders, while the American League has 4 first basemen, which is too many. Home Run Derby, we got any Home Run Derby news here? Do you know who the hell's going to be on this team?
No Mike Trout. He said no. And Brian Dozier, he had volunteered himself for the All-Star game, the Home Run Derby, but he didn't make the All-Star game. So
well, that doesn't matter. I mean, I think
that makes you.
No. Cespedes last year for Oakland, I think he won it.
That's right, and he was not on the team.
He's not on it. I mean, you would assume if you were good enough to make the Home Run Derby, you would have made the All-Star team.
I think Dozier's just throwing his name out there to be a hometown selection, and if they can't find anybody else, which is fine with me.
Glenn Perkins, hometown guy.
Glenn Perkins. Somebody on Twitter threw out that Ricky Nolasco should throw the pitches to Dozier, and that would be the winning combination for the Twins.
Who do you want to see out there? American League, National League. Abreu, we mentioned him. Probably got to see him.
I want to see Abreu. I would like to see Cespedes, if possible, again, defend the title. Okay. I'm just looking American League guys that I like watching hit. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see Jose Bautista.
Old man David Ortiz.
Oh my God.
I mean, the thing about Bautista is that he loves hitting at target field, or he's hit very well there, so that could be fun to watch.
So does David Ortiz.
David Ortiz also loves it. National League, Puig. It sounds like he's interested at least in this event. That would be fun. Carlos Gomez. That'd be fun to watch. That would be
Stanton. I'm assuming.
Stanton would be fun. Yeah. It would be fun to see Morneau hit as many home runs in the in target field as he did when he was here. So.
And Nelson Cruz says was invited to participate. He says he likely won't participate. So.
Okay.
Why are guys turning this down? Who are they getting their advice from LeBron James? Don't do the All-Star events. You're too good for it. What is this all about?
Don't embarrass yourself, I guess.
Don't embarrass yourself by hitting 450-yard shots outside the Target Center by the Sid Hartman statue. Please don't.
450 yards is pretty good.
450 yards would be pretty impressive.
You got to get it to the Sid Hartman statue by Target Center.
That's right. That's right.
I don't remember who it was. I'm thinking it was maybe Bobby Abreu. After he won it, he said that it screwed up his swing for the rest of the year.
I think that's
I don't know how accurate that is.
Like, how does that happen? Obviously, these are just softballs being tossed to you, and you can jack them out at 60, 70 miles per hour.
What I would say is that I don't know, I've never taken Major League batting practice, but I would guess that a lot of these guys are trying to hit the shit out of the ball there anyway. So what's the difference between that and this event, other than you've got to take more swings? I don't know what the deal is. I think what I do like, though, is that unlike the three-point contest, if we have to, make decisions, or the dunk contest in the NBA, is that you have a lot of young guys. These are, I guess it's sort of rite of passage. If you're a young slugger, you're going to do this a couple times before you have the right to say, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. Except for Trout, I guess, who maybe has earned that ability. But it would be fun to see him hit because we know we can put on a show.
Like, if you look back, Charlie.
I was just going to say, I miss the days of the home run derby and the dunk contest and the three-point contest where the guys who everybody wanted to see the most showed up, but I think we're generally past those days. So now it's just kind of take who you can get and hope it's at least fairly good and mildly entertaining.
They really don't replay the home run derbies anymore. Maybe they will this Monday or Wednesday if they got nothing on the four-letter network. But you look back in the 90s, I'd get the VCR out and I'd tape these goddamn things. You'd have Ken Griffey Jr. out there. You'd have Barry Bonds and Mike Piazza and Sosa and McGuire. You'd have the guys out there. Everybody that was doing the needle was out there. And now, no more needle. They're taking their testosterone and HGH other ways, however they do it, beating the system. But just a guy like Nelson Cruz having an unbelievable year, and he doesn't want any part of it. Mike Trout, next big up-and-comer. Miguel Cabrera, where is he at in this thing? I don't know. This thing's being run over by the Cubans. Cubans are dominating with Cespedes, and hopefully Puig gets in there. So the Cubans, they seem to know where the money's at. They want the home run derby. These Americans, they don't know what the hell's going on.
Ironically, I don't think there's a lot of money attached to winning the home run derby. Maybe like $50,000.
It's a 10-year contract for $200 million. Is what you get. If
that's the case, I'm going to sign up for the home run derby. That's what I'll be working on for the next few weeks.
Where do you think that some balls are going to be? Are they going to hit the guy shaking the hands in center field? Are they going to be hitting target center? Are they going to be hitting the road?
It would be fun to see the LED statue in center get hit. I think it's too high up in center to really drill it. I would like to see somebody hit the parking garage in deep right center. Now, granted, that's pretty damn far away, but I think it would be fun. I think it's also possible for somebody to hit it out of the stadium if they really pull it to left field. If they really, they're really going to have to smash it, and it'll have to be 500 feet.
Right field there in Jim Thome territory with the flagpole target center.
That plaza will be nuts on the night of the Derby because there'll be people all over there. And then the people waiting outside the stadium for balls to go out there because there'll be plenty of those.
People at the Lake Minnetonka camping out for their home run derby balls. Smoot, he'll be out there. He covers it. He covers the world in Smoot. That'll be fun. The big trade announced a couple days ago. Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill, a couple of pitchers from the Cubs to Oakland. Cubs, they get Addison Russell, a big-time prospect shortstop from Oakland. Initial thoughts on this trade? Because I think this is going to be the biggest trade of the deadline, even though we're 4 weeks away from the deadline. I think this will be the biggest trade when it's all said and done.
You don't think...
my initial gut reaction was that the Cubs... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Charlie.
I'll go ahead.
I was just going to say, my initial reaction was that the Cubs hand the Oakland A's a first-class ticket to the World Series.
I would agree
certainly,
with that.
They've still got to prove it, but...
I would agree with that. I think it's probably a business class ticket or maybe even in coach because I think the Detroit Tigers are still a competitor for that American League crown. But for the A's to get two really good pitchers on an already stacked team, the Cubs are going to get a pretty solid middle infield prospect. But Jeff Samardzija has kind of been withering away. In recent years, he's been the lone bright spot for the Cubs, and now he's going to have a chance to be a part of the pennant race. I guess I take issue with your final part of that statement you don't think David Price is going to be traded, do you?
I do not.
Okay.
They're 9 back in the division. Baltimore leading that. Toronto's come back to the pack. Yankees still in there. About a game ahead of Boston, who's having a terrible season. I think Tampa Bay's got a run in them. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but he's still under contract next season. I think Tampa Bay has shown that when they do trade their big guys away, they do it in the off season. So there's really, unless they get something that they deem acceptable now, they really don't need to trade him. So they can pull a Santana and trade him in the off season.
That's the thing I think about the Rays is that when they make a trade, they don't miss. You know, they make the trade and they get a couple guys that are either able to play right away, young talent, or are going to be stars for the future. And I think whenever they trade Price, they're not going to miss. I think you're right. I think they're getting close enough to the playoff chase now, even though they're 9 back. I agree. They at least have one run in them. And I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think you at least have to consider, maybe making a move with Price.
This Addison Russell hasn't played a lot this season, only has about 60 at-bats. Not a lot of power. Did have 17 home runs last year in 110 games, but struggled in the power department this year. Hitting just under 300, so we'll see. He's in Double-A right now, so maybe he's probably a season or two away from making an impact. And we'll see Starlin Castro, maybe they move him to the outfield. They got Chris Bryant, third baseman from, I believe, the University of San Diego, who can crush the hell out of the ball. So he should probably be up here, if not later this season, definitely starting next season. What do you think about the Cubs and Theo Epstein going with the batters here instead of pitchers? Because usually, if you're the Twins or other teams, you know that they like to go pitchers first and then hitters.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy because I think they've tried the pitcher route, or maybe Epstein has tried it before, considering his history with the Red Sox, and maybe it hasn't worked, as quickly or as well as he'd like. And so, if you can build, a batting, a pretty good crew of batters, I think that gives you a decent chance to be successful. I think, when you consider Chicago, they're in a division where pitching is pretty important. And St. Louis and Cincinnati have been able to build themselves on pitching. The Pirates, to a certain extent, but they have some quality hitters. And I would say the Brewers are a hitting team. I think the Cubs need to be hitters, but I think their ballpark is not. I don't know. There's a lot of wind, but I don't think it's really conducive to smashing the ball out of the park unless you're Sammy Sosa or something.
Listening to MLB Network today, and John Heyman was on there as an analyst. And
did he say all of his things in lowercase?
No, he did not.
He didn't use any caps.
No caps. He was capless. Right. He was, I'm interested in this trade. See how it plays out because Samardzija's under contract through next year, and he's a free agent. And he was kind of saying, now Samardzija doesn't have to worry about contract extension and all that stuff because Oakland is not going to do that. So am I led to believe here that Oakland's not signing Samardzija past 2015? Because if they're not, then a season and a half of Samardzija for one of the top 10 prospects, I don't know if that's worth it. We'll see what happens this season and next season, as far as if they actually do finally get to a World Series. But if they're not signing this guy, that's a big question mark for me.
I mean, I don't know what that means or
Billy Bean saw a replay of Moneyball. Billy Bean's replay of Moneyball on TV and went, "Yep, we got to roll the dice at some point. At some point, we got to hope to get double sixes and get that win in the World Series."
The great thing about Moneyball is that it completely ignores the fact that they had Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder, Barry Zito on their team. Three pretty good pitchers.
Jason Giambi,
yeah.
Tejada.
It wasn't 25 minnows on that team.
No. A couple of MVPs, a couple of Cy Youngs, decent. Javier Baez.
To be fair, I think it was right after they traded Jason Giambi, or got rid of Giambi. But those other guys, it's certainly true.
Very interesting here. Javier Baez, #1 prospect for the Cubs in AAA. He is also a shortstop. So maybe with these shifts, you know how everybody shifts into the left, shift into the right now. Maybe they're just going to have 3 infielders play shortstop for him, and see how that works. Currently hitting .241 in AAA. It's 12 home runs, 49 driven in, decent power, not much of an average. Chris Bryant, the aforementioned Chris Bryant, third baseman for the Cubs, also in AAA, hitting the hell out of the ball. He already has 29 home runs. So we talked about Brady's 27. Well, this guy's already got 29. So, and he's hitting .357. So he should probably be called up sometime this year.
I'll take your word for it. Before we get too far away from the trade, I would like to point out the tweet from Oakland A's pitcher Sean Doolittle, who tweeted that he was excited to see what Jeff Samardzija could do back on a football field again, considering that Oakland plays in a football stadium.
A poorly constructed stadium as well. Samardzija, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. 108 pitches, so he gets the win. And 4 runs to him must seem like a month full of runs, considering what Chicago did for him. In the first month, he pitched tremendous. Had an ERA under 2. Was 0 for 4, 0 for 5. Second, third month of the year, did not pitch as well. Had an ERA around 4 or 5, but was 2 and 3 since they scored him some runs. So very interesting to see how this plays out with Oakland. Is it time for them to either shit or get off the pot here? Because they've been on a run here for a good 12, 13 years. They haven't made the World Series. And it's not like the NBA where the same 5 teams make the NBA Finals every year for the past 30 years. We've seen Detroit make it. We've seen the Yankees make it. We've seen, for Christ's sake, Tampa Bay made it. We've seen the Angels make it. We've seen Texas back-to-back years. What the hell is the deal here with the Oakland A's?
Well, I think, they've made the playoffs interspersedly between, 2002, 2003, where Moneyball got big.
4 or 5 years in a row there. Yeah.
Oh, they had that stretch, and then they weren't in the playoffs for a period.
They were very close. They were very close.
Yeah, they were close. Yeah, so I think, they need to put something together. I think they've only made the ALCS 1 time. Is that right? 2006, Detroit?
I know they played Detroit, and besides that, I can't think of another one. So.
I can't either. So, I think they've got to start. If you're looking at that whole run as one, they need to put something together.
Looking at their history here, but 01 was really their first big year when they improved and got good again. Let's see. It dates back all the way to '99. They won 87 games, or 8 games back. Or '99. 2000, they made the playoffs. 2000 to 2003, that started a stretch of 4 straight years and 4 straight first-round exits. Missed the playoffs in 04 and 05. Made it again in 06, beat the Twins there, and then lost to Detroit in the ALCS. And then they missed the playoffs for 5 years in a row before they've lost to Detroit each of the last 2 years, so that could well happen again. But in the last 12, 13 years, they've won 1 playoff series. Very Minnesota Twins-like. It's about time they get going here. Trade options for the Twins, since they've fallen on hard times these past 2 weeks. They've fallen out of the race. Willingham and Correa seem to be the big 2 names. Kurt Suzuki's been mentioned, but you don't get rid of your best hitter when you got nobody else behind them. Thoughts on those 3? Suzuki, absolutely not.
Well, I would say in the Twins position, you trade whoever you can. So for me, Suzuki's on the table. Even if he is your best hitter, I don't see the Twins in any real position to, I also don't know why you'd keep him. And what incentive do you have? He's under contract, sure, but past this season, is he really in your long-term plans? I don't know.
He calls a hell of a game, Marcus. He calls a hell of a game, as is evidence of the ERA over 5 for the start of this year.
I have to say, I don't care about that, Ron Gardenhire. I completely agree. Willingham is a trade candidate. I think he will be every year that he's on this team.
This is his contract's up after this year. Reaching 35, 36, injury prone, not coming back next year. So he's the guy that you got to go.
You get whatever you can for him, I think. I don't think you can be real picky. Unless you've got 5 teams that want him. I just don't see that happening either. I think you'll have a middle of the road contender that will want him because he'll be pretty cheap, I think. And Kevin, or you said Correa?
Yeah.
I guess yeah. I mean, if there's a team that wants him, I just think you're in a position where if teams are willing to give you something decent for these guys, I don't see any reason not to make the moves. And I don't really have anybody else. I don't see teams really coming after Glenn Perkins. Brian Dozier is going to be here for a while, so of the guys that teams would want, I think we've kind of laid it all out. But I think it's really those 3, not Joe Mauer.
Thank you. Kurt Suzuki, $2.7 million contract this year, 1-year deal. I would like to see the Twins sign him for a couple more years because this has been by far his best season. I mean,
he's what, 29, 30?
Yeah. Let's see here. He's 30, just turned 30 a couple months ago. So.
I completely agree. I'd love to see him in the fold here for the next couple of years because there was a point in time where the Twins had a lot of catching prospects, and now it doesn't seem like they really do anymore. They have Pinto, but that's about it. And so you might as well have a guy who knows what he's doing back there, a veteran who has a decent bat. I think it's different than, he calls a good game like, Mike Redmond or whoever. You need somebody who can actually hit the ball. Kurt Suzuki's proven that he can do that.
Charlie Hildebrand, did you get a chance to look at that pitching championship of the world, that lengthy article? I believe Deadspin did kind of a
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed both part 1 and part 2 at work, and then also found that they had a quarterback and running back one and read both of those. It probably killed about an hour or so of time at work. I have to say I certainly enjoyed it about the 60s on more than before that. Because, other than someone like Walter Johnson, I don't know a whole lot of guys that pitched pre-1930 or so.
What about Three Fingers Brown right in your face there? Three Fingers Brown. Was he on the list?
I don't know much about him. I know Old Hoss Radburn won 59 games in, 1884. I don't think that'll be ever done again. Unless you've got some closer that just finds a way to blow games and then they turn around and win afterwards.
He won 59 games in 1 week. 59 games in a week. That's how good he was. The All-Star hat.
Pretty impressive.
Going back to the All-Star game. The old Twins hat, sometimes you see the catcher wear the old helmet. They're kind of the 2-colored, white in the front, colored in the back. Kind of similar to the buses back in the 50s. Your thoughts on the design and how they look? I kind of like them now. I've come around to them. Obviously, we're supporting 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks today.
The world champs.
We're trying to keep it local in the upper Midwest. I kind of like the design, something different.
I thought at first that it was going to be everybody was going to have to wear the Twins colors, and they just plant the team's logo in there. But now that they're all taking that design, and they have their own colors, I wish I had the graphic of all the teams that I could pull up here, and I don't know where that's at. But there's some really cool. What's that?
It's on the Facebook somewhere.
That's right. I'll dig it out. Some really cool designs, and I can speak to my 15-year-old brother has bought one of the hats, Twins hats. Yep, Twins hats. Looks good, and I think it's interesting also to see what they did with like the Mariners and the Rays, who have had updated color schemes since the 60s and 70s, or weren't around at that time. I think even those hats look pretty good too.
What do you make of Vance Worley? Add him to the list of thousands of crappy Twins that have gone on to great success outside of the Twin Cities. 4 starts on the season, ERA of 2.2. His last start was his worst, and that means he went 7 innings and gave up 3 runs. First start of the year, 7 shutout innings, 5 hits. Had a start against the Mets here on the 26th. 7 innings, 1 run. What do you make of Vance Worley, the starting pitcher in the opening game last season for the Twins?
You'll have to forgive me. I lost track of Vance Worley once he was done with the Twins. Good that he's figured it out. I mean, like we joked about earlier, these guys always seem to figure it out once they leave the Twins. The Twins seem to be the good luck Chuck of Twins teams, if we're using poor movie references. So, yeah, I mean, good for Vance Worley, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what do you make of all
Poor
these
movies
things?
with heavy sexual innuendo.
Yes.
Well, what do you make of the Mornos? Morneau had the concussion problem. Offensively, very poor the last couple of years. Goes to Colorado. Should be an all-star. It's a crime if he isn't. Ortiz, you know that song and dance. A guy like Vance Worley off the scrap heap. What the hell was I trying to say? Scrap heap.
Yep.
A guy like Lariano, again with Pittsburgh. Punto still bouncing around with the Dodgers and Oakland. The list is lengthy of guys that were very poor, and then all of a sudden they go somewhere else. Is it a coaching thing? Is it what they're telling them to do? Is it a philosophy type of deal? Because there's more than enough now to where the sample size is not that small.
I think it is related to, philosophy and coaching. You look at some of these guys. When Gomez went to Milwaukee, he was talking about how they were telling him to hit it on the ground and stuff. And I mean, it's pretty clear that Gomez can hit with some power. I think Ortiz talked about how they were telling him to hit, line drives. Don't bother with the power stuff. I don't know how many pitchers they've told to be pitch to contact. Why? I don't. When somebody has the gift of striking guys out, which I think goes beyond just having the stuff. You have to know which pitches to throw in which situations, and that isn't all going to the catcher. That's not just using your example from earlier. That's not just having a catcher behind the plate who can call a good game. No, it's having the pitcher who can throw that goddamn pitch when it counts at 2-2 and strike the goddamn guy out. I don't see what the problem is with that. I think it is a philosophy thing where it's a lot like Oakland where they didn't want to spend as much, and guys who don't hit home runs and guys who don't strike guys out are a lot cheaper. And so I think that has something to do with it. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the case anymore because the Twins ran out of steam on that philosophy and moving into the new ballpark and all that stuff. But you can look at this and look at the All-Star Game. I expected it to be worse of guys who were retreads from the Twins that end up somewhere else and being in there. I mean, it would have been the real kicker if J.J. Hardy was the was the starting shortstop or whatever for the American League. Thankfully, that didn't happen. But Pat Neshek's the same way, where he bounces around a couple teams and he makes it. So you can go right down the list, like you said. I don't know what it is, but I think there is a philosophy connection on that. I have the hats here. I'll pull the hats up.
Okay. You look at the last couple of years. You go to FanGraphs. You look at the strikeout rates. The Twins, they're not only last. They are last by like a strikeout or 2 per game. They are historically bad in the modern time with striking guys out. And it's not gotten any better. You got the hats there. Bring this up. Which ones do we like the most here?
I like Toronto because Toronto could be wearing that hat right now, and they almost are. I like what they did with Seattle there. I think Tampa Bay's looks good. Philadelphia's is good. Oakland is. I like the ones that kind of look like what they might have worn in the past. I think Kansas City has an interesting hat. Let's see.
I like Chicago, the White Sox. It's very clean. I like that white in the front.
Yes, I like the ones with the white have a distinct advantage. And I would say I like the Angels there. They could make that work too on a full-time basis. That's a nice hat down there.
Agreed, and I'd throw in the Orioles too.
Orioles, I mean, that move a year or two ago to that hat full-time or pretty close to that hat, great move. I like the teams that have moved back to their classic logo, and both the Blue Jays and the Orioles have similar full-time designs. I like that.
Well done. Ricky Nolasco, another stellar start today, 6 runs in 2 innings. How long is this going to last here before they do something?
Well, Gardenhire said that he gave us nothing and that the time has come. Now, normally I would dismiss anything Gardenhire said, but as somebody astutely pointed out on Twitter, usually when Gardenhire says something like that, that means something's coming. That means that guy's either getting sent down or designated for assignment or traded or God knows what. So
bullpen.
Bullpen, yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility. I don't know if there's any guys in the minors anybody would be pulling up here to fill this spot.
Alex Meyer, either or right now, get their asses up here. Let's get that done.
We're in July, so I think that would be fine. But I don't know if we're asking a lot of them or not.
Well, they can't do any worse than that. 2 innings, 6 runs. The Duno is hot and cold. Seems to be hot now, but just way too inconsistent to get anything done. Honestly, the Twins' bullpen is full of former starters, whether it be Caleb Thielbar at SDSU, Dunsing Stridit from Nebraska, Swarzak, Glenn Perkins, Deduno. They've all had a crack at some point in their careers, and there's a reason why they're in the bullpen and not starting. Definitely, opportunities are there to start. So you call up Meyer, you call up May, 2 of the guys you got for Revere and Span. You see what you got from the straight a couple years ago. So the time is now because the pitching has been atrocious as it was last year. Going back to that philosophy point, what do you think they're going to do with Miguel Sano when he comes up, hopefully sometime next year? For sure he'll be there in 2016. A guy they project to hit 30 home runs, no reason why he shouldn't. What do you think they're going to do with him?
Like, what do you mean? Like when they're going to play him or where they're going to put him?
Do you expect him to be hampered by their philosophy of hit the ball the other way, line drives, instead of, kid, you see that seat there, 340 out, hit it over there?
I don't know, because I think one of the interesting things is a guy like Brian Dozier, who not brought up in the Twins organization, right? He was brought in from somewhere else.
He's with the Twins.
He was with the Twins through and through, and he hits with some power. I like that, and I don't, maybe the Twins just let him do his thing, or I don't know what the deal was. I think the Twins have been burned on enough of these scenarios where it's like, okay, let's just let the kid hit. And I would hope that that's the way it is. Now, I think the flip side of that is Arcia, who, that guy is pretty clearly a free swinger, and it's not working out for him because he strikes out way too often, and that just doesn't work. You need to put the ball in play, or have it, God forbid, some productive outs or something. So I think they're kind of in a. I would just like to let these guys' natural talent take over and tune them, to whatever you need. But it does bug me when you take a speedy guy like Gomez and say, well, hit it on the ground and beat it out. No, just let the guy hit the ball. If he's a power swinger, let him power swing. And if he ends up looking like, Willie Mays Hayes, then we've got a problem, and we'll fix it at that point.
Brian Dozier. 1,400 at-bats in the minors. How many home runs?
because you're bringing this up, I'm gonna guess not very many. I'm gonna guess like 15.
16.
16. Okay.
So somehow a guy goes from what is that? 1 home run every 100 at bats, every 80 at bats or so, to a guy that may hit 30 this year. May hit a combined 50 in 2 years. How this happens, I'm not sure. So,
I don't know. It was interesting. I can only go back to Friday's game because I was there. But he leads off the game with a home run, a ball that didn't look like it was going to reach the seats, and sure enough, it hits the grate over the fence on the left field wall. He's clearly got some pop. I mean, to turn a otherwise pretty lazy fly ball into a home run. So pretty impressive, I would say.
Were there any Chris Colabello jerseys for sale?
I saw somebody with a Colabello T-shirt jersey, Jersey as we call it here in the lounge.
Jersey.
I also saw. I infamously have a photo of the gray Tsuyoshi Nishioka jersey. I saw a white one. I also saw a white Yankee jersey with no pinstripes that said Gehrig 4 on the back, and that Gehrig never had his name on the back, and always wore pinstripes. So I don't know where the hell that came from. But
whoops. Somewhere over in Asia where I get my jerseys. I try to get them more authentic than that, for God's sakes.
Yeah, well, you at least need the pinstripes. Pinstripes and leave off the name.
Can't be that difficult. Any other baseball-related topics, as we talked plenty here? You went to the game. Any other? Did Schottenkirk get thrown out of the game? I assume he didn't.
He didn't get thrown out of the game. His phone died, so connection with him was slim in the game. But I did chat with him briefly, and I don't think he got thrown out. So that's good news at least. And apparently he was at today's game. I don't know if he. I was only able to listen to the latter part of the game on the radio. I'm going to guess that he didn't get thrown out, and hopefully didn't start a Derek Jeter chant, because there were plenty of Yankee fans there this weekend that they didn't need any help. So.
Yeah, as we wrap it up, talk about those crappy July 4th hats everybody wore, because those looked atrocious. Everybody wore red, no matter if you were the navy blue of the Yankees or the John Deere green and yellow of the Oakland A's. You wore the red hats on July 4th, and they looked like shit.
They did. They looked pretty bad. A disaster of a hat. And I mean, the Twins, all things considered, it wasn't that bad. I mean, the Twins hat. I saw the Cubs hat. I'm going to pull up the Twins here.
But if you're talking like Pittsburgh or San Francisco or the Dodgers, what the hell are you doing wearing a red hat?
I don't know. I remember when they first introduced these hats on the holidays or whatever. They would at least have, if you were a primarily red team, you'd have a red bill or you'd have whatever in a white cap. This on Friday was ridiculous. Every team with a red hat, whether they were a red team or not. The Twins didn't look so bad, but the Yankees look pretty out of place when you consider they don't have any red on their uniforms. Make the hat all blue if they're a blue team, or whatever you got to do to make it at least make some sense. I think the Cubs were the ones who, I mean, their logo just did not work with that hat at all. I saw that because they were the MLB Network game prior to the ball game on Friday.
Agreed, and I think I'm lagging a little bit behind here. But I know I watched an inning or two of that Yankees-Twins game. The second I turned it there, it took me like 20 seconds to figure out which team was which, since they both had the red on their hats. I could not tell at first until I got a close-up of the front of their jerseys so I could actually read where they were from.
All-Star break next week. I propose mid-season awards, everybody's favorite mid-season awards. And if we can find them, we'll look back at our preseason predictions and see how close we are to that. Carmelo Anthony now seems to be between the Knicks and the Lakers. Explain to me, if you would, how this makes any sense, either of these two teams, if the main goal here is winning a championship or making a deep run into the playoffs.
Well, I would say with the Lakers,
they're both bad options.
They are both bad options. With the Knicks, he could make the case that, you know, if Phil Jackson is actually able to create a winner there, it would be his team. It would be his team. He'd be there for this turnaround. He'd lead the turnaround. I don't think that's going to happen with the Knicks because obviously they have some big-time problems. But, like you have pointed out so many times, Mr. Kriens, they're in the East. That's where you need to be if you want to go to the NBA Finals. And if you're going to turn around, it's not going to be in the West. Now, maybe he's always dreamed about playing with Kobe Bryant. I don't know if that's the case. Mr. Schottenkirk could speak to that. And he would be able to get a max deal there, but again, not much cap flexibility for the Lakers, I presume. I don't know that for sure, but I presume that's the case.
Well, you got Kobe Bryant signed that enormous contract when he was hurt last year.
An albatross of a contract.
For what he's done in the past, not necessarily what he's going to do in the future. We'll see how much longer Kobe Bryant lasts, if he's got a year or two left, or if he goes for 4 or 5 more. Those two playing together doesn't seem like a good idea, but we'll see. You know, Pau Gasol, if he re-signs there, Julius Randle, the draft pick, that's a pretty good core, but again, they're not better than Oklahoma City. They're not better than the Spurs. They may not be better than the Clippers.
Might not be better than Houston, might not be better than Portland, might not be better than the Warriors.
But they are better than Minnesota.
They are better than Minnesota. That's one place to hang your hat.
So if I had to guess, I'd say he goes back to New York. So, I mean, there are spots open at the top of that conference, but I don't think they can win the 50 games required to get a top 3 seed, or to win that division. We'll see if Toronto can put together 2 good years in a row. And Boston, they're up and coming, and Brooklyn, we'll see in 10 years. So, it's there for them, but I don't think they're good enough. And the Lakers, I don't see him going there, so I think he goes back to the Knicks. Any other NBA scuttlebutt that you're interested in? As far as the big 3, they've all opted out. I expect them all to stay. Dirk Nowitzki stayed with Dallas. So,
I thought Dan Le Batard had a good column in today's Miami Herald. I read it online, obviously.
No, you subscribe up there in Atlanta in your condominium in Atlanta.
You know that. He had a good column about how we kind of manufacture stuff regarding LeBron and what's going to happen. And I guess I hadn't thought of it this way, but he would obviously know the Heat are one of the most secretive private organizations in sports. Not much gets out, and we haven't heard much. Everything else has just kind of been little chitter-chatter from agents and people anonymously. And that does kind of lead me to believe that we're not going to see much change. I would expect, considering Wade has very quietly gotten into a position to restructure his contract, and Bosh, really only wants to be in Miami, based on what he said publicly, and then LeBron, I think, is still vested in Miami. It's looking bleaker and bleaker that some of these other teams are going to be in play, but that's just me. And my biggest question, by next week's show, will we know where Carmelo, the big 3, whoever else, will we know where they're at by then?
I believe we will. Yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. Things should start to pick up here at the end of next week.
I would, yeah, that's kind of what I think. But who knows? We're in the waiting game if you're patient right now.
Soccer World Cup, what happened?
We're down to 4, and I think the 4 teams that deserve to be still in this tournament. Brazil, Germany, I think that's capable of being a championship match. They'll meet on Wednesday. No Neymar after he got his back cracked. So that's bad news for him. And then you've got Argentina, Netherlands for a trip to the final on Thursday or Wednesday. Tuesday and Wednesday are the semifinals. And I have no idea how that's going to go. I think it's still going to be Brazil-Argentina in the final, but right now, I mean, Germany's played well enough to get to the final. Netherlands barely got past Costa Rica. And no U.S. We all know no U.S. So.
Is that right? No,
that's right.
I've not heard about that.
I didn't know. I feel like no one's talked about soccer on TV at all.
Jeez, you guys got to keep your ear to the ground.
I had my head in the sand. The head in the sand.
You had your ear too far to the ground.
Goddamn sand was in my way.
I do want to mention I have my hands on the Bible for this season. Phil Steele book, 352 pages of reading to do before the first.
Open that up. Is that the one with the poor format? It's just randomness upon randomness with about a 4-point font there.
Yep.
Just as much shit as you can pack in on a page.
Yep.
My God.
Yeah. Well, a lot of abbreviations. I've bought this book now for 5 or 6 years because it's a book experts cannot do without, and I consider myself an expert, of course. So
you're the Pennington County City Auditor, is that correct?
something like that. And so yeah, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I know what the abbreviations mean, but if you're a novice and you open that book, you're gonna be like, what the hell is going on here? But it just masks the fact that my Gophers will be 6-6 again because it's all in the small print and in the abbreviations.
What is the what's that thing again?
Yeah, it's one that I usually check out each year too. It's I know it takes a while to get used to all the abbreviations and stuff, but I've been in for quite a while. It's the one that's got, if you want to know the most information, it's got by far the most stuff packed into it. It's the only one where you can look and see any game from like the last 5 years, along with their like team statistics for the last 7 or something like that. So I usually only get one now, and it's the one I always get.
This is the only. I was at the point when I was a kid. I would always get an NFL preview, but we're to the point now where I mean you don't need all that stuff's online, and I would say I know the 32 teams pretty well. I don't know the 130 teams or whatever on a regular basis. By the time the season starts, I will not know all 130 teams either. But like Charlie said, this has the information where you can at least figure something out before the season starts. So I try to give at least most of the major teams a breeze through before the year starts, just so I have some sort of knowledge. And for the record, his college football playoff, Florida State, the 1 seed, taking on Oklahoma, the 4 seed. That's in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans on January 1. And Alabama, Ohio State in the other semifinal. He has Florida State and Alabama meeting at Jerry World on January 12, and he has Florida State winning it all. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's safe.
It's safe. It's a very safe pick. He's also big on the surprise teams. And these are not real off the radar picks. But his 3 surprise teams, he has 12.
Oregon.
No, not Oregon. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, USC. And number 3, Wisconsin.
All Sun Belt schools. They're all Sun Belt schools. Bull crap.
Wisconsin, yeah. Real big Rust Belt, you mean. The big Rust Belt team.
Rust Belt teams. If we get him on here, I'm more interested in the process of him putting this thing together. Because I think I followed him on Twitter, and then I think I unfollowed him because the updates were too much. But
he had a spam problem. That's why I had to unfollow him.
But he had a thing where, like, well, this is going to the printers today, and I didn't care, so I unfollowed him. But he gets started like immediately once the season's done. He gets started, which
he has all the pages like pre-written. He calls it. I would say by the end of January.
You got to plug in different stuff.
Yep.
Essentially. So whoever's on page 84, that's who I like this year.
All right, let me look it up quick so you know.
Is this by conference?
My guess is that is Arkansas.
Oh my.
Oh no, you're going to end up with a good team. On 84 is Ohio State.
God damn it.
Literally the worst team you would want as far as a likability standpoint, and you got them.
Honestly. Hopefully Urban Meyer doesn't have to visit his family in the next couple of years. He can keep that job. That would be nice.
Hopefully he has to eat. Hopefully he has to eat a Papa John's pizza on a golf cart in Indianapolis because he lost the Big Ten championship.
Do you remember bigger crock of shit than an excuse like that? Let me get out of Florida because I got to visit my family. Oh, by the way, I'll be gone every Saturday doing Big Ten games. Oh, by the way, I'll be the Ohio State coach about 5 minutes after I elect.
I cannot believe that he didn't. I can't believe Pete Carroll didn't use that excuse. That would have been perfect.
If I would have known that the sports lounge is under investigation, I would have never left, okay? Come on, guys. Why the hell would I leave now? Why would I leave when we're going to get 20 scholarships taken away? Why would I do that? Oh, I don't know, because I'm not a dumbass. That's why. What a crock of shit. Jesus Christ. Stupid ass. Awful.
He knows when to hold them and knows when to fold them, I guess.
No, he's damn near 70. He looks no older than 65, so that's really good. South Korea guys got pelted with candy. That sounds like something I would enjoy. That was fun to watch. Looked like a parade.
I think my favorite part is they got to the airport and it was supposed to be like a whole welcome home. Hey, people behind a rope clapping for them, whatever. And no, these people had candy ready. And the organizers, they didn't take the candy from them, put 2 and 2 together, and candy is thrown at these people. Very nice. I liked it. South Korea, they got a better reception than North Korea. Let's be honest.
Oh, you don't say.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
How is the Sports Lounge Bracket Challenge World Cup Edition set up by MD Traxler?
I haven't looked at it. Just because I don't have
Marcus, Charlie, Drew, Stacken, and Schottenkirk entered. We limited it to 6, obviously, or else we would have had at least 7 people enter the contest. A lot of people picked Brazil. A couple guys picked Germany. So everybody's champion is still out there. A big match on the pitch on Tuesday. For the that will decide who will be known forever as the 2014 World Cup champion of champions and who will be awarded the 2005 South Dakota State third place trophy from the Augustana Invitational in golf. What do we got?
Travis Kriens, you're in first place, 58 points. Very nicely done. You have Brazil. Joe Nathan, a.k.a. Nathan Stacken, tied with me with 55 points, second place. Schottenkirk, Alexi Lala sucks, aptly put. He's in fourth place with 53, but he does have Germany.
How many points available in this round? What does this round get you?
I don't know. I would have to do a tad more research.
It comes down to Brazil-Germany. If Brazil wins, I win. If Germany wins, David wins, and I'm in second.
It does it does look like it does come down to that. Drew Rahman, 51 points, fifth place. Charlie, 48 points in last. But he also has Germany too, so he could make a move.
So Schotten is either me or Schottenkirk for the win. Either me or Hildebrand for second.
I would have to do some looking though, because it may have that other semifinal. There could be points to earn too, depending on who.
I had Spain. A lot of people had Spain. Maybe.
Yes, that's a good point. If somebody had, I don't know if people had Argentina in the final.
People had Uruguay, so that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
It all comes down to Brazil and Germany. Is that the winner that wins the whole thing, or is there something on the other side?
I really do feel like Argentina has a chance. Lionel Messi has been terrific in this tournament, and the Netherlands have just found a way to get past. This could be their year, although they've never won it before. So there's a lot of really good storylines in play regardless. Will be very appetizing to see how it all ends.
Costa Rica, did they make the final 8?
They did.
Is that a hell of a run?
That's a hell of a run, yeah, for a team that had 400-to-1 odds, I think, at the beginning of the tournament. To get this far, pretty impressive. They were in, outside of the U.S., they were in the group of death with Uruguay, Italy, and England, and won the goddamn group, and then beat Greece on penalties, almost beat Netherlands on penalties, Costa Rica to the quarters is a good story. Yeah.
Thomas Vanek, 3-year deal. What happened?
Took less money. He's going to, I think, $6.5 million basically per year. Not a bad deal. Wild aren't screwed over. Vanek's happy. He could have had more money from the Islanders, and I think that was a smart decision not to go to the Islanders because they're not anywhere near a Stanley Cup title. Although you look at that division the Wild are in, Chicago, St. Louis, Colorado, Dallas, all got better. That will be the best division in hockey next season, no doubt.
Who wore a Montana jersey at the Target?
Some old guy, some big guy. On the 4th of July, white Montana Grizzlies jersey and a gray Green Bay Packers hat. Happy birthday, United States.
What are we looking forward to this week? You got the World Cup. You got the end of the unofficial first half of the MLB season. You got the NBA free agent stuff starting to happen where guys can actually put pen to paper. Plenty of good things. What's number one on the docket?
I'm looking forward to World Cup. I also I'm going to the great state of Wisconsin this weekend and hoping to catch Cardinals Brewers one game at Miller Park. That may be Friday night or Saturday night, and thusly I will not be on the show next week, but I'll give you an update. Hopefully I make it to the old ball yard.
The old ball yard. Very good.
Yep, old as in it's been up since 2002.
There you go. Any Charlie Hildebrand, any endorsement deals besides the barbecue? I know there was some talk about the vinegar, but maybe that's kept under wraps.
I've got a deal that if someone can, in MLB The Show 14, hit a home run with someone named Mickey Mantle from both sides of the plate, that they will get a whole bunch of free baseball cards that have fake graphs by different people claiming to be someone else.
Ooh.
Now, do they have to hit home runs for both sides of the plate at the same time?
Throughout the game.
Oh, okay.
I mean, as long as it's in one game, whatever.
I thought maybe two.
I mean, everyone really wants to get that Bob Feller card. That's actually signed by the janitor.
You got a P.O. box on that?
I do not. Working on that. It'll.
Oh man, we lost him.
God damn it! He's trying to find that P.O. box. I think whatever I had going on with my computer, I sent it over to him. So,
Viruses.
For me, it's a heating issue, a ventilation and a heating issue. If shit gets too hot, shit shuts down. So we're trying to make sure.
It was apparently 97 here in Mitchell today, so that could be part of the heating issues.
There you go. So we'll hopefully Charlie Hildebrand makes it home safe and sound for the whole game. For Michael Tweets, for Marshall Bjorklund, and for what's our friend, the guy that we don't like?
Nate Zastro.
Sure, him. Marcus Raxer as well, supporting it, keeping it local, eating Arby's whenever he can.
Keeping it local. I got an overhead garage door. Keeping it local.
The Arizona Diamondbacks leader. Almost. What do they call the 75th show? What anniversary? We got it.
Diamond? No.
The Diamond Edition next week inside the Sports Lounge.